The materials that we accept are cardboard, mixed office paper, and beverage containers. So at every school, when we implemented this program, we had Waste Management drop an 8 cubic yard dumpster at every school, on every school campus, and that was for cardboard. Later the program changed, I think, sort of the way we did it at Gale's system, in which they could put cardboard and paper. In fact, it's Pratt Industries who picks up the material there in Winston-Salem, and it may be the very same vendor, subcontractor Waste Management. What we provide is 18-gallon bins for every classroom and every area where there's a lot of paper generated, including computer labs, administrative offices, teacher workrooms, and places like that. We also supply 96-gallon rollout carts in which all the paper is to be consolidated before it's rolled out to a predetermined place on the school campus where the truck can come by and collect it. And then we also supply 20 or 32-gallon beverage container recycling bins in the cafeteria if schools elect to use the beverage container recycling program or implement that. And again, you know, these are the 8 cubic yard dumpster for cardboard. It's rented from Waste Management, and we pay all the fees. The schools, if it's not been made clear here, the schools don't pay anything for the recycling program. The Utility Commission or the City of Winston-Salem County pays for all of these materials. And we have posters for the classrooms and in the hallways, and labels on the recycling bin, which is where Feed the Bin came from. The beverage containers, this is the way the beverage container recycling program was implemented. And it's always been one of the most vexing programs to get going in the schools. There's a lot of reluctance on the part of almost every school. This is universal. I'd like to hear Craig and Gail's feedback on this too, but most schools are very, very reluctant to get involved in container recycling in the classrooms. And I feel that it's mostly because there's a little less direct supervision while the students are in there, so it's going to require more work by custodial staff or teachers. So this is something, we only have container recycling, beverage container recycling in about 7 or 8 schools in the entire county. Interestingly enough, every time I've gone to a school and said, I'd really like you to try this, and if it doesn't work, I'll be the first to say this doesn't work, and we'll stop it. But they've implemented it, and it's worked. But other schools are just extremely reluctant to do it. And the way this works, though, is we have 20 or 32-gallon bins in the cafeterias with holes in the top. We buy these containers from a company in Pennsylvania called R. And the students will come by and put empty beverage containers in those, and then those will be emptied into large 96-gallon carts and pushed out for collection on the collection day. The OCC, or the cardboard collection, which is now cardboard and paper, varies. That's based on when the trucks go there. There's not a set day, and they usually show up in the wee hours of the morning. If you're familiar with the way these guys that drive the dump master trucks or the front loaders work, they usually hit the streets very, very early in the morning. We do require them, if they're when they recycle office paper in the carts, they have the carts pushed out to the designated area on the campus by 7 a.m. And this was frequently an issue too, because a lot of times there wouldn't be the person who was coordinating the recycling program in the school there at that time, so it was left to a custodial person. And again, there was some reluctance on some schools to involve custodial staff. And again, the 18-gallon bins are put in every classroom and other areas, media centers, administrative offices, as well as teacher workrooms, computer labs. 96-gallon carts were put at various places in the school. Some schools chose to store them outside under a covered walkway. Some stored them in areas where the halls were wide enough where the fire marshal wouldn't make them move them. And that's an issue too. If you store things like this in the hallway and they're full of paper, be prepared for a visit from the fire marshal, and they might ask you to move it out. So just another logistical issue you might have to work with. And we chose the number of carts based on several things. One was the layout of the school. Did it have levels? Did it have wings, pods? We would usually try to put one cart in an area where there were a cluster of classrooms so that when they collected from the bins, they wouldn't have to move the same cart all over the entire school. These are a couple of pictures from a school that implemented the beverage container recycling program and did a very, very good job of it. The schools we asked to provide the drum liners for the containers inside the cafeteria. Again, we supplied the drums themselves. And as you can see, this school here actually provided a bucket for any residual or leftover drink to be poured into. What I tell schools when they ask about setting up beverage container recycling, I say, I'm not going to set it up unless I sit down with a principal or an assistant principal, a custodial staff person, somebody from the cafeteria, and a teacher or some volunteer in the school who will promise to oversee this program. And then they have to make a decision. Do they want to accept bottles, or I should say, either have the students empty the bottles out, or if it ain't empty, it doesn't go in the recycling bin. You have to make that decision up front. Even then, you know, it's been pointed out to me, and I certainly agree with it. When you get in high school, there's a lot of other things that go on inside high schools with kids that age. Chances are you're going to be getting a lot of residual drink in those containers. Office paper and cardboard is all the time and continuous, but the beverage container, of course, is only during lunch. So you've got a compressed time there that you've got to collect those things. And I'm going to hurry through this because I see our time is short for lunchtime. Again, 96-gallon carts for the beverage containers, just like for the paper. This is so important here. If you don't have some champion in the administrative office, and we've recently gone through a change in staff there, but if you don't have some champion in the administrative office to make this possible throughout the entire school system, what you're going to end up with is small schools or a school here and there doing this. But you've got to have somebody in the superintendent's office or the administrative office really pushing this. And to me, it's an economic thing. If they recognize that for every ton of waste that doesn't go to the landfill, you save $34 or $36 or $50, then they'll typically do that. And involve the students when appropriate. Elementary schools, obviously, they'll need more help than others. Elementary schools aren't going to have as many beverage containers, mostly milk cartons. Greater volumes of beverage containers in middle and high schools, of course, that stands to reason. And for some reason, I found that high school staff are generally more reluctant to implement the programs. Anybody else with that same experience? Yeah, they say, oh, the kids, you know, and hormones, we're not going to do that. And that's it.